This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
Okay, I think we have. I'm excited. We sadly missed him last week. He had a last-second meeting, but we got him today. Kiran Sidhu from Halo Labs. Hi, Kiran.
Hi, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you very much. So whereabouts are you today?
I am on Valley Vista and Sutton in the San Fernando Valley, headed to a meeting.
Nonstop meetings for you and Halo Labs. Is there? I mean, I might as well get right into the business side of things right now. And I know shareholders often have questions and the vision of Halo. Where are you at? Because there's been new acquisitions. There's a lot of movement. There's Lesotho. There's Oregon. There's DNA Genetics. There's so much going on. Can you concisely kind of update and say sort of where you lay right now in terms of this vision coming together?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we definitely have Oregon, which has, been our home for many years, and we just keep growing that business. We're obviously looking for selective acquisitions in Oregon right now, especially on the grow side. We have about 7 acres of canopy under contract or that we own, and we probably need another 10 acres at the rate we're growing there. There was some great news that MJ Biz came out with that we knew that, Oregon's recovered. Or is recovering. Prices of the raw materials are going back up. So Oregon's doing really well. California, we're trying to implement hard at it,
Kiran, I'm going to get you to repeat that. Sorry to interrupt. We lost you there for a little bit, the cell signal. You were talking about California and the seed to sale, then it sort of broke up.
Signal. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, it's a tough signal now. That's the valley for you, right?
Yeah. That's the valley for you, up in the hills, huh? Maybe I'm coming up to a crest so I can actually get a good signal up here.
We got you now.
Yeah,
You're saying seed to...
I think I got a good signal. All right.
Yeah, we got it, baby.
So, yeah, I'll park here.
Okay.
All right. I completely forgot about that in L.A. and these hills. But yeah, so California, we just got to keep rolling, keep growing. Sales keep growing, and we just got to keep growing that. And Africa, Andreas was just there, and it's moving along. I mean, we keep putting plants in, and it's just everything's just moving along. And operationally, I couldn't be happier with the pace and the way everything's going. I mean, the market's growing, and the markets we're in are growing, and we're looking at a couple of new markets to expand into. One of them's yours up there in Canada. Now with this 2.0 happening and everything selling out, seems to be a great market. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm just really happy from a business perspective.
I know your last quarter you talked about your cash position within Halo. Are you guys still pretty cash strong as well?
Oh yeah, we're really strong. I don't want to name names, but a couple of CEOs have come to me of companies our size or a little larger, and literally they're saying to me, look, take our operating assets, let us all go, and here are the keys, and we won't even negotiate a premium. I think a lot of people are hurting, and I think one thing we did, again, this is sort of my Wharton MBA background, is when things get tight, you don't focus on your income statement, you focus on your balance sheet. So the critical thing that we've always done is kept our balance sheet clean and always made sure we have $5 million or so in the bank and make sure that we have our capital lines to draw upon. And, it's just a question of balance sheet management. And having, been on this earth for almost 55 years now, either as a banker or as an entrepreneur, I totally understand that. So it's sometimes time to play defense and sometimes time to play offense. And now we're trying to be offensive in a defensive-minded industry.
I find that the cannabis news in general has been a little bit slow coming out of the state side of things. You mentioned 2.0 here in Canada, and that's often talked about. Are there? I mean, have you heard some news coming out of the U.S. that would help kind of not only just shareholder confidence within any of the cannabis companies, really, but just true growth in such a big country? Is there any little whisperings coming out?
Well, I had a really good chat yesterday with a good friend of mine, Nitin Khanna, who's the founder of Select. owned until yesterday 50% of it, which he sold to Kira Partners. And he was just so happy to get that deal across the line. You know, I remember it started at $1 billion, went to $400 million, or, you know, ended up, I don't know where it ended up. And he just had so many headaches. And, you know, that deal got across the line yesterday, you know, and he was so happy. And he's like, I said, what are you going to do, Nit? And he's like, I'm jumping in my plane. I'm going to Miami. Then I'm going to Scotland. Then I'm going to Aspen. And I said, Nitin, how does Scotland fit in? He said, oh, it fits in because I'm going to go play golf in Scotland. I go, okay, you're going to go to Scotland in the middle of winter and play golf. All the more power to you, you know? But no, that's a good deal that it finally crossed the line. I mean, it's been hard for Select in Oregon, and it's probably in California too. You know, when you're number one in two states, the only place you have to go is down. Being number two in Oregon, you know, even though we're rivals, you know, it's just good to see that deal got crossed the line finally. And there was another deal also that crossed the line yesterday, but it just eludes me right now. But that was the big news. And there's a lot of activity. I think what's interesting is some of the larger players aren't being as acquisitive right now because they're so balance sheet focused. So what they're trying to do is sort of organize all their assets in such a manner where they can function and they can get to cash flow positive, which leaves sort of room for some of us smaller guys to be more acquisitive and more aggressive, provided that we can continue to maintain our balance sheets positively. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting time. And for us, I've never been busier. I've been in cannabis, as you know, since 2013. You know, I started Golden Leaf, and then, you know, I've ended in a company to Namaste at 20 cents, and we, you know, took that out at a couple of dollars. So, you know, I've seen these lows, I've seen these highs, but honest to God, I have never been busier.
Yeah, and me understanding Halo and helping, you know, some brand strategy away from the radio show here, full disclosure, everyone listening, I see so much. This is me speaking here, but there's so much great, wonderful potential, and I often wonder why people need to be convinced that. Is it hard as a CEO? What I'm getting at to just tell your story without feeling the need to sell your story.
Well, I like to tell my story. I don't like to sell it, and I like to do my best, and to God, you know, we leave the rest. But, you know, all I can say is that, you know, as a team, we're a tight team. We work really hard, and, you know, we try to deliver value. And and I always look at trends too, you know. So a trend I'm seeing in California now is, you know, I met with this great little firm called Biscotti, and they gave me a gift bag, and they gave me these pre-rolled, you know, hashish joints. And this is a great story. And this Saturday, I was with my mom, who's 85, and I lit up a joint, one of these hash-infused pre-rolls, and my mom at 85 had never smoked a joint. I mean, she'd done a vape pen, she has her edibles, her tinctures, her, you know, even her sodas, but she's like a modern user at 85. She'd never, ever smoked a joint, you know? So, you know, you start to see trends like that where, you know, now, you know, say 50% of all consumable cannabis is either flower or joints. Now you start to think to yourself, you know, maybe it'll be like that. Maybe it'll drop to 45, because there's definitely a different sort of high and a different sort of experience with a joint than there is, say, with especially a hash infused joint, than there is with maybe a vape pen. You know, and now you guys in Canada are just getting your vape pens and just getting your edibles. And, you know, it's just interesting to see trends, you know, and a trend we're starting to see in California is what I call a solventless trend. So even though the solvents in anything we do, you know, are tested for parts per billion, there's sort of a lot of old school throwback I'm starting to see in California with, you know, hash, bubble hash, rosinated hash, all starting to make a comeback as well.
Yeah, really interesting, and through education, and you're right, people, there's sort of purists, I guess, right? You know, there's almost, is it safe to say there's cannabis purists?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely Cannabis Peers. I mean, like the DNA guys were in yesterday. You know, Don and Aaron were at our offices all day, along with Rez and Omar, who's, you know, their analyst, their quant guy. And what was really interesting is, you know, at 420, when all of us went out to smoke, you know, there was definitely, Rez definitely had a joint of, you know, their DNA's finest. And he also had a thing that, you know, DNA is starting to get into, you know, very sophisticated concentrates, which is what they call a terp layer, or his holy water, as they define it, in a, you know, in an oil pen. And there's definitely a place for everything, you know, but it definitely seems that, like, when you smoke a joint, there's a little bit more camaraderie than sometimes when you hit a vape pen. And, you know, this year, case in point, this year when I asked Andreas, I said, Andreas, how many joints? And this is our first year selling joints in Oregon. I said, Andreas, how many joints do you want to sell, or do you expect to sell in Oregon this year? He says, Kiran, I'm going to sell 1 million. 1 million joints. I'm like, wow, we just started and you're going to sell 1 million joints. Now I understand it. So I said, let me get my hands on it and start figuring it out. You know, and then when it threw back to me and said, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a huge market. I mean, here in California, you got Lowell Smokes, you got guys probably selling, I would say, I don't know, maybe 1 million joints every like 3 months. So, yeah, I mean, the market is just, you know, the market for this is growing. It's growing at a fast pace. And you know, you have more people adopting, and, you know, you're looking at month over month growth, you know, from BDS.
Still so early for Halo and for the cannabis industry as well. I'm sorry to cut you off, Kiran. We do got to take a quick break here for a news update. But thank you so much for the updates. Let's get you on even later this week, or for sure early next. And we always look forward to the Halo cannabis updates. Thank you so much for being a big part of sharing your wisdom with us.
All right, take care. Bye.
Cheers. Kiran Sidhu, everyone. At Kiran Sidhu, CEO. And make sure you check out his podcast, Concentrate with Kiran Sidhu. Great stuff. He shares his knowledge beyond just the cannabis space, but in business and entrepreneurship in general.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.